When I started the company and created the company back in 2003, previously I was part of the VLC media player software development team. And Anevia is now focused on software development for, let's say, encoder, origin packager, and cache savers in order to deliver video streams, OTT-based, for both media companies and, so let's say, broadcasters and telecom operators as well. With a specific focus on cloud DVR and all nonlinear or let's say near live applications. As you can see on this graph, we've been doing some cloud DVR since 2006. At that time, it was session-based protocols, RTSP, IPTV, and so on. So we're now moving to the OTT, and we've got this expertise around cloud DVR. Anevia is actually has offices in different parts of the world with a key focus on telco operators, both in North America, Europe, as you can see, but also South America. The kind of services that our customer deploy based on our software, these are basically starting from live to cloud DVR, video on demand, SVOD, as well as start over and replay and so on and so on. And we provide the CDN to those customers as well to actually deliver those services. So that's for a very quick company introduction. I will let Mark present ATN International as well as the project. Mark.
Thanks, Damien. So at ATN, we're an investment company. We invest in communication companies and renewable energy, primarily in communications. We operate mostly in the international sector. We do have a few operations in the US, primarily both in wholesale wireless and direct-to-consumer wireless. But you can see up here that we own properties in Bermuda and US Virgin Islands and Guyana, in which we're kind of what we call market scale. So we are not only the telephone company, but we're usually the cable television operator and the wireless cellular operator. So we're doing what a lot of companies like Comcast and others in the US are just starting to try to do. We're doing them, but on a much smaller scale, in which we have a pretty high percentage of market penetration. We also picked up a cloud computing company called FireMinds just recently. And so with these operations, we put these investments together, and we had a few things that we wanted to try to accomplish, both in video and data. And so the operations all worked autonomously. And so when we bought these investments, we said, okay, how are we going to transform video? Video consumes 70 to 80% of all of our traffic. We offer video services to companies today. They generate a lot of revenue, but let's face it, they don't generate a lot of margin. Mostly internet customers generate margin for us, right? And so we have to transform how we offer video services. Not only that, video services today, they're declining in traditional video, right? I mean, you look at all the numbers, satellite providers, cable operators, everybody. Even though the video traffic is increasing in the data network, the video subscribers to dedicated video services are decreasing. So we have to come up with a new way to offer video services. The second thing is the revenue model itself is changing. Subscribers are no longer purchasing a single channel tier. They want to purchase video in a different way. So how they purchase it or where the dollar is flowing is a completely different scenario. And then the third area is how the customer gets satisfaction from this video, right? I mean, what are they basing their satisfaction off of? And we have to build more reliable, stable networks than we actually have today in order to deliver that video. So when you look at those categories, what we're trying to say is, okay, we have to transform this revenue model because the customer itself is asking for that change. And because the revenue model is going to change, how are we prepared for that change? We can no longer be the video provider we were of the past. It's not possible. Even Comcast Xfinity that was designed 10 years ago is not going to survive for very long, right? Subscribers want new types of models. They want to consume video in different screens and in different ways, and they don't want to pay for the revenue in the same way they used to pay for it. It's completely different. And we all participate in that marketplace, right? We're consumers. We don't want those same types of videos delivered to us anymore. And so as an operator, we started looking at, okay, what are these drivers? What tools do we need to put in place in order to facilitate all of these changes? So when we looked at this, and I'm sharing with you this exact model that I helped create in my company to say, okay, should we even get out of the video business, right? So we sat as an investment company and looked at the revenue and looked at the margins and said, is the video business even worth being in the future for us? That's pretty significant, right? I mean, when you think about operators saying this, there's lots of operators saying this across all C-level boards saying, hey, listen, there's a lot of revenue in this business, but there's not a lot of money in this business for us. Are we still going to participate in data service? Yes. Can we, there's a revenue in passing bits as access network? Oh yeah, there's good money in that. There's good business in it, because by the time we buy content, by the time we aggregate it, by the time we deliver it to the customer, there's not a lot left. And so we looked at, okay, what if we have our cable operations today, we have one option. We just continue to offer video today, watch our subscribers decrease, and it just dies on the vine, right? Because that's what it's doing. It's decreasing every year. Or we just get out of the video business altogether right now. Stop it. And focus all of our efforts on selling data connections, cellular, fixed, Wi-Fi, adding value services onto that, and let just seed the whole marketplace to OTT competition, and figure out how to use CDN technologies and WebRTCs and Open Streaming Alliance, and let's just get revenue from that. The heck with being an aggregator anymore. Doesn't make any sense. I mean, if Amazon's going to create video, Netflix, everyone else doesn't. If all the content providers are going to go direct to consumers, why should we bother? So we looked at that and modeled it. Then we looked at, okay, maybe we shouldn't get completely out. We could partner with a service. Let's just do a partnership. Then we said, all right, let's look at the fourth model. Let's forget about all this proprietary delivery, whether it's RTMP, IPTV video, right? Whether it's HFC video over broadcast QAMs. Let's just do completely OTT. Let's build our data network and just deliver our own video service directly over OTT. But then we looked at the same problem everyone else has. Well, if we do that, our customers want a reliable service. OTT and adaptive bitrate is not ready for that, right? We can't have our customers expect service from us that we can provide broadcast video today and IPTV over QAM, and all of a sudden just switch them. They're going to be like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. We can't change channels. All this buffering, this is horrible. We hate it. We don't have solutions for that, right? Out of all the products and technologies being talked about, no one has a solution for that yet. We're all standing up here talking about solutions for that, but it's not available for prime time. Can't have it because we're the only video operator on the island, right? So all of our customers are going to be like, whoa, wait a minute. We're not getting this Super Bowl. What happened to the World Cup? What happened to the cricket match? So we said, okay, we have full IPTV. We have fiber direct to the home. We do fiber right to the household in a lot of our markets, along with other technologies. That's expensive, right? People talked about it in the last thing. It's really expensive to do, and it's hard to justify dedicating all of that bandwidth to that situation. Then we look at the sixth option. We say, okay, maybe what we need to do is account for that 20% high simultaneous usage and then just push it all the rest out to OTT. And then the seventh and eighth option, that's where we say, okay, we can use the same base QAM and do half OTT. Option 6 and option 7 are the only ones viable today, meaning it's the only ones viable that will actually offer the customer the experience they want. It's the only one viable today that we can invest in and not have such a huge investment and not being able to return our money within a decent period of time. Option number 5 is not possible, and 8 is traditional cable operators. That's what they're doing today. That's what X1 is pretty much, or soon to be, right? And so we know those aren't viable anymore. So we have to do a hybrid option until we can get to option number 4. Our goal is option number 4, OTT. But we can't do it today because the technology doesn't allow us. So we know we have to take an in-between step for the next couple of years. So everything we invest in options 6 and 7, we invest all of our dollars into the goal of getting to option number 4. But we know that in order for the user to watch video, to watch the Super Bowl, we have to offer those two options, 6 and 7. So when we looked at this, we partnered with our partner Anevia and said, okay, we need to figure out how to onboard our content. So picture we operate in Caribbean islands. It's not unlike operating internationally. Bermuda, U.S. Virgin Islands, Cayman. All these facilities take satellite service, bring it down, ingest it, encode it, distribute it on their networks, do all those things. We said, okay, we need to have a way to provide a centralization, an efficiency for those operations, while at the same time stay distributed, so we can ingest video, encode it, transcode it, put it on an origin server for encryption and packaging, but also have distributed caches and distributed origins out in the islands, because some sources are going to come from satellite, some sources are going to come from fixed fiber, some sources are going to come from the internet and Zixi, because we're no longer getting sources the way we used to. Satellite service is soon to die, right? It's not going to stay alive for too much longer. Those contracts are changing. And the sources are coming on the internet. Right now today I can get 35 sources direct on mezzanine file from fixed fiber by major content providers. And that number is growing every month. They're moving off the satellites themselves because they know that they can't stay on the satellites if they want to go direct to the consumer. And so how we onboard content, we have to have our IP-based systems available to acquire the content and process it, but distribute it using CDN origin technologies and edge caching technologies. So out on the islands, we have content that's only going to be originated locally. Broadcast content, local origination content, soon to be home security content, Internet of Things content. We don't want to send that content back and forth through our transport networks. We also want to have that cache and that distribution out in the exact market where the content is created. So not only do you have to place technology where the content is consumed, right? That's what most of everyone's been talking about today. It's not just about that. It's about both endpoints, always has been. It's about where it is being created and where it's consumed, right? We talked a little bit about that when we came to live. So we have to place technologies as an operator where we're going to receive that content. We have it out on Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud. We have it in a central virtualized facility right here in the United States, and we have it out on every island in order to receive that content, the same type of flow, the same type of workflow process, and then it shifts it out into the CDN, and then the edge caches are what we have placed out in key peering points and out in our edge network in order to facilitate how a response time occurs from a user session so we actually can have quality of experience. We have a great savings amount. It pays for itself in just the transport costs and subsea network alone. So you don't even have to worry about how I generate revenue or charging somebody by the bits. Right now, we only have about a 50% cache hit. We have Netflix caches in our network. We have Google caches in our network. We have Facebook caches in our network. We have transparent internet caches in our network. None of them are enough. They still don't do it. And we're a small operator, but I know the big guys have the exact same scenario, the exact same model, just on a larger scale. So we know that this technology has to exist, right? This is an example of what Netflix did, what Google does, what Facebook does. All these guys are doing the same thing, right? How can you have a cache respond to a session request or a session setup in order to decrease the latency and serve that video out to the customer? And so we've done those same things through our own caching architecture and what we have, utilizing the power of Anevia technology. So I think a couple things. When we looked at what we needed to do, we didn't just say we needed to take MPEG-2 or MPEG-4, or we know we wanted to have constant bitrate video for live broadcasts. No, we know OTT live ABR is where we have to be. That's the #1 focus for us. The second focus is we know we have to use encoding specs of HEVC or newer. So that's the base for us. We knew that just having an SD video, we are HD forward with 4K options, right? So we are 4K capable. We're going to be transferring 4K video through this system. We're in trial now today, and we have a wide range of services. We know in order for us to survive, it isn't just about live sporting events or live news events. It's network pause, network cloud DVR. These are the things the consumer wants, right? They want to shift the time of how they watch it. That's why they're all binge watching off Netflix. The other part is we knew we needed to access native players to be able to create the most efficient client-based player system possible. Centralized platform with distributed components, utilizing parts of the cloud, parts of virtualization, and on-prem. And the set-top is still our first client. Like, users definitely want consumption devices that they bring, their iPhones or their Android phones or their iPad, and lots of it's lots of fragmented usage bases. But our set-top is still the anchor of the television. We don't want to just give it up to WebOS or Android TV on a Sony TV or Tizen for Samsung, and just be some, dumbed down application sitting on there with 100 other applications. It's not going to do the user any good anyway. That's totally fragmented. 20% of the marketplace could probably get away with doing that, but 80% still does not want that today. They still want a video service that's usable. They don't get it from that. They get bits and pieces of it. So that is our focus for the service. And Damien's going to talk a bit more about how he's helped us.
So very quickly, few technologies that we put in place in order to make that project possible. The first one is, because of the native players, it was very important to be able to do just-in-time packaging, because otherwise it would have meant to store a lot of content for all the different devices, for all the different formats, and that was something that we couldn't afford. So packaging on the fly or just-in-time packaging was the first key technology here. The second key technology that we have deployed is a specific buffer that is actually able to record all necessary parts of a channel to be able to replay that, either as time shift, post-TV, replay, cloud DVR, and make sure that from a customer point of view and in terms of user experience, the user can still have the same experience choosing their beginning and end of each program as they are used to be, even though the DVR feature has been moved to the cloud instead of staying in the set-top box. So that's the second technology. Third technology to make the storage efficient and cost-effective. The idea was to have an hyper-converged approach, meaning that instead of using a dedicated NAS standing next to the different streaming servers, we are reusing the existing storage capabilities inside the streaming server, putting all those drives together to actually create a virtual NAS. And that basically divides more or less by 2 the number of rack units that are necessary. And it actually helps a lot with the scalability of the service. Adding another server provides additional storage capacity, but it also provides additional streaming capacity, both together. So that's very efficient in terms of scalability of the service, very efficient in terms of how many rack units you need, and very cost effective as well, because the existing storage capacity in standard streaming servers, this is the cheapest storage you would get compared to a NAS. Having just a hard drive to add inside a COTS hardware, that's definitely the cheapest way to go. As Mark explained, it was very important to have this distributed technology with channel acquisition in the different places, whether that's satellite or internet or direct fiber. In fact, the idea is being able to originate those channels in multiple points in a real distributed architecture, not one origin point, but multiple origins distributed in a network, and being able to have then local caches in the different networks where it's required, pulling data either from the local origin or from the master origin or from other origin, and maybe tomorrow going deep linking to third-party origins as well, which are the kind of trends we're seeing on that market. In order to make sure that we've got the best CDN hit ratio, which is very important also in that case, we implemented this chunk sharing technology, meaning that as soon as the content has been cached for live services, we can reuse the content in the cache for start over, for replay, for catch up, and for cloud DVR. We don't need to pull it again from the origin to the cache, and this way it also saves these subsea links bandwidths that we are trying to save as much as possible. So that's few of the technologies that have been deployed in order to make that project possible. And Mark's going to maybe show very quickly where we stand at this stage with this project.
How do we get this video?
Probably just need, click one. And click on the refer. That would just, do you have the pointer?
Yeah, I tried that. Oh, there. No. There's the thing.
Live stream, and he has almost
Nothing anomalous on the exterior.
Set foot on these grounds.
So that's our fiber wire TV, powered by the Anevia CDN And you can see that it's taking what is traditionally OTT technologies and combining it with the existing broadcast technologies. So we are prepared to move fully into OTT and using those technologies step by step as it moves along in the ecosystem. So we're pretty excited about it. It offers a lot of features that the customer wants. And Damien mentioned a couple key points, which was today we know how we acquire video. We don't expect to acquire video in the future. We don't expect to have any acquisition of video. We expect most of it to be deep linked, straight from content providers. We think that's where the future is moving, and this type of technology lends itself exactly to that scenario.
Okay, very quickly, a few hints for the future. I mean, obviously, the first thing would be to deploy that in the other operators as time goes. We're going to also scale the service, extend to mobile services, and for that, I mean, different technologies are being studied at the moment, including multicast ABR as well as LTE broadcast for mobile services. Our multicast ABR technology is fully LTE broadcast compatible, meaning that we can deploy the two solutions with only one technology. Then open to non-ATN subsidiaries is part of the plan as well. And that will be done very easily since the platform is natively multi-tenant. It supports both private copy and shared copy. So it will be very easy to build on top of the existing platform. More monetization opportunities are being studied, such as dynamic ad insertion and so on. And those are really things that are available on the platform or could be very easily built on top of that. And continuous improvement of the service, obviously, a number of things could be studied there. Low latency, we've talked a lot about that in the previous sessions, but also looking at plugging disaster recovery in this architecture, because as the subscribers will use cloud DVR, it means giving the content to the operator. So then the operator really needs to secure the content correctly, and that goes with disaster recovery. That's it for the presentation. Obviously, if you have any questions, we will be answering those questions.